Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is an episode of the evolution of the Epstein Chronicles. Hey guys, glad everybody's here to join me. Beautiful Friday afternoon. Got ourselves a fantastic article to go through today. It's by Matt Farwell of the New Republic, and it's a complete breakdown of Jeffrey Epstein and his time in New Mexico. As I lead up to this trip out to Santa Fe and into New Mexico to check out the Zorro-Ranch, I'm going to be doing a lot more stories like this about Santa Fe, about Epstein's connections to the area, because I believe that this is a part of the story that's been neglected almost by a lot of these media outlets, and it makes me wonder why. It makes me want to dig deeper. It makes me want to put on my investigator's hat, hit the ground, and really get to the bottom of things. Of course, there's no promise that I'll ever do that as far as get to the bottom of things, but like I've said earlier, I have several sources already, 2 sources that I've been developing in the area. And hopefully I'll be able to talk to some more locals that I have some information on, some locals that supposedly know what's going on. And hopefully hopefully they'll go on record with me. And if not on record, then as anonymous sources. Because I got to hear from the actual people that live in these places, especially in New Mexico, since we don't know much about it. It's a little bit harder to keep things private in New York or Palm Beach, but New Mexico, Santa Fe, really not the kind of place where the paparazzi's hanging out and waiting for you to mess around, right? Really not a TMZ moment about to occur in Santa Fe for the most part. So I think that what he was doing on this property is a lot more insidious than we even know. And we know a lot, right? It is very devious. It is very chilling to think about the things that they have found in this ranch. And then to add to that the federales, the FBI, our vaunted federal agents, have not raided this place. But they raid Roger Stone's home with a SWAT team, with CNN outside. The 2-tier justice system is an absolute positive joke in this country, folks. All right, let's hop into this article. If you would like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com. And if you haven't already done it, make sure you subscribe to the show on the Spreaker platform. That way you get, right away, it uploads to you right away, blah, 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 blah. All right, let's jump into this article. Headline: Jeffrey Epstein chose New Mexico for a reason. A journey through the land of enchantment where the now dead sex trafficker and his co-conspirators found a haven for radioactive secrets. If there's a secret, New Mexico will try to keep it. The land of enchantment has gotten a lot of practice over the years, well before the now late Jeffrey Epstein purchased the Zorro-Ranch south of Santa Fe. The world's first nuclear weapon, codenamed Gadget, was detonated in New Mexico on July 16, 1945. Tourists can now visit the Trinity site on the U.S. Army's White Sand Missile Range to view the epicenter of a highly secret government conspiracy, sounds familiar, involving top physicists called the Manhattan Project. Trinity is a 111-mile straight line from Zorro Ranch. Consider what lies within it this way. Find a map. Make Epstein's New Mexico operation the center. Put the Trinity site at the edge of its radius. What else is secret and radioactive and inside that circle? Did New Mexico's other secrets throw off enough chaff to keep Epstein off the radar? Last month, I went to New Mexico to see what secrets I could find within the circle. Santa Fe, 23 miles away from Zorro as the crow flies, is the oldest colonial capital city in North America, one with a twisted history. The historic center of this small city in the foothills of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains in the plaza, an open-air park with a Haagen-Dazs at the one corner, this was once a drugstore, Zook's Pharmacy, that doubled as a base for Russian espionage. In between filling prescriptions and ringing up customers, deep-cover Stalinists, spies here plotted the death of Leon Trotsky and later coordinated efforts to steal the secrets of the atomic bomb from Los Alamos, distance from Zorro Ranch, 50 miles. There are dozens of other strange things in that circle. There's the Armand Hammer United World College of the American West, a selective international boarding school in Montezuma founded by Armand Hammer and Prince Charles, originally a resort hotel built on a hot spring sacred to the Jacarilla Apache, the previous inhabitants of the Sangre de Cristos. Bill Richardson, who in recently unsealed court records was named by accuser Virginia Roberts as a participant in Epstein's illegal sexual abuse ring, claimed to be a lecturer at the United World College in 2001 and 2002, between his stints as Bill Clinton's Secretary of Energy and New Mexico's governor. Richardson only showed up once, that the students were aware of, to publicly hobnob with Queen Noor of Jordan and Greece's Prince Pavlos in advance of his gubernatorial run. I was a student at AHUWC at the time. I recall that Richardson accurately called me a smartass. There are also the sites where the Catholic Church hid pedophile priests in local parishes until a tsunami of lawsuits from victims forced New Mexico's largest diocese to file for bankruptcy last June. One of those places is in Jemez Springs, an isolated resort town in the middle of a melange of federal ranges, Pueblo nations, and national forests. Distance from Zorro-Ranch, 50 miles. Here, the Catholic Church still operates one of 2 treatment centers in the United States for pedophile priests. Oh boy. They are treated by fellow members of the cloth who belong to an order called the Servants of the Paraclete. The Servants of the Paraclete. The Paraclete, of course, being the Holy Ghost. One wonders about the mental health care available for the victims, or whether they will ever really rely on the Paraclete again. We travel inside the circle from one abusive church to another. A little over 80 miles northwest of Zorro-Ranch is Trementina Base, a bunker and vault complex owned by the Church of Spiritual Technology, an elite order within Scientology with hardened rooms storing L. Ron Hubbard's writings. Hubbard's thoughts on Thetans will survive anything, as they're reportedly inscribed on etched steel plates in titanium containers filled with inert argon gas. The location is hardly secret, since the CST's logo, 2 interlocking circles with diamonds, can be seen in aerial photos carved into the high desert scrub to help guide Hubbard's spirit back to its new body, whenever that happens. Once Hubbard adopts a new body, he's expected to make his way to one of the CST bases. A Trementina base inside told the Village Voice in 2012. That's where he's supposed to be raised and to be taken care of. If you're rich, powerful, and committed to doing something strange and opaque, New Mexico beckons, as it did for Epstein a quarter-century ago. On February 22, 1993, as Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You topped the domestic charts, the New Mexico State Land Office granted an agricultural land lease near the unincorporated community of Stanley to the Zorro Trust. The trust was a shell company for Jeffrey Epstein, whose address of record at that time was 457 Madison Avenue, which today also houses the headquarters of the Trunk Club, personal shopping service. On the same day, the Zorro Trust completed a purchase of lands owned by members of the King family, a powerful New Mexico agricultural and political dynasty. Zorro's deal included rights to the King's lease on public lands, a total of 1,159 acres rented for $872.22 a year. The largest private landowners in New Mexico are either outside billionaires or family dynasties. Very often, we will just be a wealthy landowner away from consolidating their holdings, Stephanie Garcia Richards, the New Mexico Land Commissioner, told me. She then produced a thick binder that looked like a briefing book. It was a record of every interaction Epstein had with the Land Commission, which involved only a small portion of Epstein's New Mexico playground. The 50,000 square foot mansion was situated on private land. A few details stood out about the land. For all the care he took purchasing it through shell companies and lawyers, the little things were often neglected. The November after he'd amassed his lands, the state sent Epstein a letter for not paying his grazing fees, bringing his annual cost for leasing land from New Mexico to $889.50, plus a 2% interest fee. The next year, Epstein sought approval to construct a grass strip runway for a private plane on New Mexico state land within his lease. But when the state wanted to send inspectors out to the site of the proposed runway, the request for a permit was withdrawn, and Epstein built another runway on the private land that he owned outright. In 2004, a variance from the state land commissioner allowed Epstein to build a section of raised railroad track where he wanted to park an antique Santa Fe railroad caboose in sight of the Creston petroglyphs, nearly 5,000 cataloged pictograms left behind by the original inhabitants of the Gallisto Basin 600 years ago. That's interesting to me. Now, who are all of these commissioners, and how much has Epstein ponied up to them? How much has he donated to them? How in his pocket are they? Were they ever at this place for parties? These are the things I have to ask the locals. These are the things that we don't hear about in the mainstream media. And if we didn't search out articles like this, we would know nothing about any of this stuff. Zorro wasn't Epstein's only New Mexico investment. Besides alleged illicit assaults and sex trafficking to the rich and powerful, he had other interests like eugenics, cryogenics, and theoretical physics. New Mexico filled those needs nicely. Groundbreaking work on all three fields has been done in New Mexico since the Manhattan Project. After World War II, the United States imported Nazi war criminals to help run the fledgling space program, including in New Mexico, where their prior skills in rocketry and ghastly human experiments could help the United States retain the edge over the communists. It seems Epstein, a canny investor, saw value in both the physical and human terrain of New Mexico. And why wouldn't he? It's like I said, it's secluded, it's away from everything. Before he was even on the radar, he could have really done some damage in this place, right? Nobody would have an idea. Who was watching in the middle of the desert for a guy like Jeffrey Epstein to be involved in some sort of sex trafficking? Nobody would believe that. And then when you have all of these other powerful people that are involved with him, Bill Richardson, the sheriff, these land controllers, etc., well, you see how the picture unfolds, right? You see the big picture then. You see the fact that Jeffrey Epstein manipulated his way into power and from there got his tentacles involved into everything. He pumped more than $250,000 into the Santa Fe Institute. We've discussed that, and I will also be going there to check that out. A think tank for theoretical researchers where he befriended co-founder and quark theory pioneer Murray Gell-Mann. Cormac McCarthy is one trustee of the Santa Fe Institute. The author Cormac McCarthy wrote The Road? That's odd. I didn't know that. Pierre Omidar is another. When I called a well-connected Santa Fe lawyer, the attorney told me to look at the Institute and ask what I knew of Gell-Mann's reputation around town. Not much, I admitted, and went to find out. When these men describe Epstein, Vanity Fair wrote, of the men of letters Epstein collected, they talk about energy and curiosity, as well as love for theoretical physics that they don't ordinarily find in laymen. Gell-Mann rather sweetly mentions that there are always pretty ladies around when he goes to dinner Ches Epstein's. When I drove out to the Institute to ask about its connections, no one bothered me as I wandered around. SFI is up in the hills above Santa Fe with beautiful views and a campus that seems like a graduate school building at an expensive university. Open spaces and industrial lighting, whiteboards and hardwood furniture. Eventually, a spokeswoman provided me with a statement that, contrary to certain statements in Epstein's bios, he was not actively involved at SFI other than as an infrequent donor, and the Institute has rejected any funding from Epstein after 2010. Oh, that's nice, 2010, huh? Well, he was convicted in 2008. Why weren't you making a stand then? Gell-Mann could not be reached for comment. He preceded Epstein in death last May at age 89. Driving out of the Institute, nestled in the hills above the rest of the city, I stopped to take a photo of a welcoming artwork ahead of the parking lot. An old Chevy truck with an erect rocket ship as its unloaded cargo. Cowboy artist Bob Davis built it for the SFI's first interplanetary festival last year. The fin of the rocket ship reads 9EX, but from the distance it looks like sex. Our facility crews drives it back and forth on the Chevy truck, part of the exhibit, which has a hydraulic system under the hood for changing the rocket's angle of inclination, Jenna Marshall, Santa Fe's Institute spokeswoman, explained to me. Perhaps the hydraulic lift will lower the 9EX rocket ship 45 degrees to half-mast. Gene Peach, a Santa Fe photographer, has had an eye on Zorro since the late 90s. He tells me, after the news of Epstein's arrest broke, Peach spoke with several Stanley area ranchers, none of whom ever saw Epstein or had any idea what went on at his ranch. Locals said that they would know when the Epstein crowd is at his ranch because the mansion lights drown out the stars, Peach explains. No small feat in that part of New Mexico. Some thought Epstein owned Victoria's Secret because of the caravans of glamorous women who would show up at the ranch's double gate off Highway 41. Peach reports that the locals always had mixed feelings about their big city neighbor. Epstein's property taxes were a blessing to the community and won't soon be replaced, he said. There are too many big ranches, but no other 50,000 square foot mansions. Well, there's Tom Ford's nearby seven-figure ranch, but he has yet to find a new buyer. Stephanie Garcia, Richard. The state land commissioner has been among the most proactive public servants in her response to the revelations about Epstein's illegal activities. Even before Epstein's arrest in New York, as soon as she heard about Virginia Roberts' accusations, complete with pictures from Roberts posing in snow in front of the Zorro-Ranch, Richard instructed her staff to pull every relevant document, deed, and scrap of Epstein's correspondence from the files and deliver it to Attorney General Hector Balderas, one of the only few New Mexico officials to do something about the state's reputation for graft other than embracing it. All right, perfect. So I'm going to try and get in contact with this lady. I'm going to try and get in contact with Stephanie Garcia Richard and see if perhaps I can get an interview with her while I'm in New Mexico. So these articles are also great because they're giving me names of people that I can contact so I can try and get in there and talk to some of these folks as well so we can get a real accounting of what was going on, who was coming, who was going, what the rumor mill said, etc., etc. Richard's authority is limited. She and her staff are only able to look into whether any crimes took place on state-owned lands in Epstein's lease, rather than on his private property. Balderas has jurisdiction over the house itself. Neither official is likely to fully give up investigating now that Epstein's dead. It's a priority for the Attorney General, Matt Baca, a senior counsel for Balderas' office, told me before Epstein's death over coffee down the street from the New Mexico Judicial Complex. This Attorney General has been very focused on prosecuting sex crimes. Baca noted that his office was delivering evidence and material on a rolling basis to U.S. attorneys for the Southern District of New York who were leading Epstein's prosecution and are now targeting his potential co-conspirators. The coordination continues today. Well, that's good. But my question is, how come it hasn't been raided? Has the state raided it? We don't have that information. So again, I'm going to try and get in touch with these guys. I'm going to try and get in touch with the Attorney General's office while I'm there and see if I can get a meeting with these guys, 15 minutes of their time, 10 minutes of their time, just so we can get some clarification, right? I can come back and then I can let you all know what the deal is. Because we need to know. That's pretty important. Has this guy's house been raided or no? While the Epstein suicide, allegedly, is a disturbing development, Balderas' office told me, the Office of the Attorney General will continue to review all allegations of criminal conduct connected to the Epstein case in New Mexico. That office has its own special anti-corruption unit, about 20 investigators all told, assisting in the gathering of Epstein-related evidence. Like the Land Commissioner's office, the Attorney General's team was on the case early. We've been looking at this since February or March. We're not totally reactive, Baca said. Yet it seems all the authorities have been, to some extent, passive and reactive in the Epstein affair. Yeah, of course. Why does he get off lightly? Why does he get the sweetheart deal? Why is he able, okay, listen to me, why is he able to get a call and be told he's getting arrested and just to turn himself in? How is that even possible? In the 11 years since Epstein's Florida conviction for prostituting a minor, New Mexico failed to ever require him as a registered sex offender. Okay, another reason why he was there. Who facilitated that, folks? Who went to the top echelons of power in New Mexico and said, you're not making him a sex offender? Come on. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. His death has no effect on the leases he held, a state land office representative tells me, because they're owned by his holding company and will not expire until 2021. It is fair to assume that what went on at Zorro-Ranch will never fully come to light. New Mexico, after all, is but one place in America where powerful people who enjoyed the use of its land in government, business, finance, religion, and science have consistently demonstrated a pattern of deception and disregard for the people that live there. Epstein's ring was large enough and existed over a long enough period of time that one might be tempted to think of it as just one cell in a hive of secrets hidden in the high desert. That's a fair statement, because that's exactly what it is. He had all of these operations, and we've talked about it ad nauseum here. That's not just on one continent either, right? This is spread across the whole entire world, folks. The whole entire world, pretty much, every continent. Getting girls from Russia, getting girls from Eastern Europe, getting girls from Western Europe, getting girls from South America, getting girls from America, getting girls from Africa. I mean, are you kidding me right now? And nobody in any of these countries, nobody in a position of power, nobody that stands up and attempts to dress us down about the way we live, stood up and protected these girls, folks. Just remember that. Last October, 237 years to the day after a rebel army of American colonists accepted the surrender of the British at Yorktown, there was an invitation-only event at the Santa Fe Institute, a scientific talk about a different sort of colonies, exploring the individual and social dynamics of task organizations and honeybees. In any animal group, the seminar's abstract reads, individuals must be able to effectively sense their external environment, communicate that information to others, and coordinate a response. Honeybees are social insects that organize to perform complex, critical tasks that keep the colony alive. Who benefits from ignoring how Jeffrey Epstein long managed to operate in New Mexico, nestled among so many government secrets, covert operations, religious enclaves, and futuristic laboratories? Maybe the honeybees provide a clue. Maybe, like them, we live in a compartmented world where the rot of one cell can remain ignored by the other cells around it. Perhaps our hive minds compel us to look the other way, to avoid too many questions, to not think about how many other cells contain secret worlds of wealth, deceit, and violence. To really look inside them all might accelerate the collapse of the entire colony. And that, guess what? I'm on board. That's what I'm trying to do. I want to accelerate this collapse. I want these institutions to be revamped. All of these people that were ever in charge, they need to be fired, and it needs to be new folk brought in. Because nobody's doing their job, folks. You don't have any of these federal FBI offices, these local offices. Where are they at? Where are they at? Oh, they have no problem chasing down, people, other American citizens that have been caught up in their FISA program, though. Nah, zero problem with that. Or, people that want to engage in some sports gambling. Nah, no problem there. We'll arrest you. Baseball players want to get involved with steroids? Come on, we're going to end that. We're going to bring you in front of Congress. Not these people. These sick, disgusting sons of bitches that run around and do whatever they want, however they want, because they know they're being protected by those up higher than them, those up higher than us, and people in the government who do not care about the people who elected them. It is all about the consolidation of power, folks. It's all about consolidating that power and then exerting it over you and I so that we dance to their tune. Well, that party is over. The year 2020 is the year that the predator becomes the prey. If you guys would like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com. And if you would like to support the show, you can click on the GoFundMe link in the description box. I'll be back later on tonight for the Daily Drop. Have a great Friday, everybody.